Okay, we are back like we never left. Episode 13, small cap review. Let's go ahead and get on into it. I will start with a couple of the leading gappers today, or at least names that we're showing on the gap scan to start the day. And then we'll come back and hit GameStop and AMC at the end, because I think we have to on a day like today. So we'll start out with CLLD. Now this one wasn't a huge gapper, only 23%, but there was a couple of things to like about this play. To start, it's all about those daily pivots, you know it. So when we have it gapping up, in this area, go ahead and map these areas out. I mean, you could even draw a couple more that line up with it pretty much exactly, but this 150, 160 level was clearly an important level on the chart and one that we could maybe base off of. Another thing to like about this play is the volume that it showed you in pre-market. Um, right away, showed you in a couple candles, has room up to 260s, 250 plus. And when you get this nice pullback and this flat consolidation on top of these pivots, was a good reason to think that this could go up and, test this level in between, or what it did end up doing, testing this upper level. And the way we drew that top band was all the way over here, this ultimate low pivot. And I drew this daily zone to incorporate, excuse me, these pivots here as well. So when you have those combined, you get this nice upper target. Um, and really cool to see how perfectly the levels played today. I mean, really had three key levels drawn and they all showed to be respected. Like we always say, the strong stocks make their low day in the first 5 minutes of the day. That's what we get here, even though we get this nice pullback back to test these daily levels, we never make a new low of day. So right here on this pullback would be a great place to get interested because you have super, super tight risk. If you get in here, you're risking, uh, we'll call it 5% with a target. First target up here is 20%, ultimate target up here 60%. So crazy good risk to reward to get involved. And you even get a really nice play on this dip into the daily zone. You get these bottom wicks wicking off of VWAP, off of the 8 EMA, where everything is still stacked positive, and get that nice secondary move up. And then once you get these pivots, or I'm sorry, these upper wicks into the daily zones, great place to take profits. And kind of just been ping-ponging between the two zones here. One that I'll definitely keep and watch, end of day and hopefully into tomorrow as well. And then the last thing we'll check out, I didn't even look at this before, but let's take a look what the volume looks like in terms of pre-market to opening volume. So we have 3 million shares at the pre-market. And then if we go to that first hour, we get 40. So, we're looking for 4 to 1 in terms of the shares traded in the first hour compared to what we get in the pre-market. So we definitely knock that out of the park. I mean, we do that in the first, 20, 30 minutes of the day. We get that 4 to 1 volume that we're looking for. So pretty much everything that I have been saying is coming, a good example of that. That low day in the first 5 minutes, the volume profile from pre-market to the open, and then of course the opening on top of daily pivots. So really good play here. One that was, in all honesty, pretty easy to capitalize on. Only thing that could have happened is, maybe chasing an entry at open and then getting faked out down here. But if you played it by the book, would have captured a really nice move right there. So we will go ahead and move on. We will talk about a play on the short side that was super nice. We're going to go TVGN. Okay, now we'll start with the daily chart. First thing that stood out to me when I pulled this up was this day right here. Get this box because we were looking at this in pre-market on this day too. So what do we get? A gap up, not even an attempted push, just immediate fade and closing close to the lows. And where did it gap up to? Was testing the 21 on the daily. And what do we get here? We get a gap up to the 21 on the daily, not even an attempted push up, and a fail. So let's take a look at the intraday chart. This is one that gapped up in the after hours. It did most of the work and opened here in the pre-market on top of these after hours levels, gapped up off of it, and then faded back below them, at the open. And why is that important? So we have this daily level, this daily pivot right here, get a couple touches, and that is for me, a pretty clear level on the chart. So we have that drawn out, and the same way that strong stocks make the high a day, I'm sorry, make the low of day in the first 5 minutes, weak stocks make the high of day in the first 5 minutes. So that's important in terms of where we can set our risk reward, where we can set our stops to make sure that we are in a play um, with appropriate size and risking the dollar amount that we are comfortable risking per trade. So what we get here when we get an open right below a pivot, a wick above, and a move back below, that is one of my favorite short setups. Now, what makes it not A plus short is just the range that it had up here to the pre-market highs. If this was, maybe up in this zone and opened, tested these, and then failed, it would be better. It would give us better range, and then also more solid risk reward if you wanted to start in risking 190s and then lower risk as we make lows. So not A plus short, but a good short nonetheless. Like I said, it's all about that wick up to the daily pivot and rejection of it. Because then, I mean, even if you're getting in late, I'll call you getting in here, you're risking 12 cents. At that point, price is 136. How much room do we have to the 5? Actually, not a lot of room. Not a lot of room. So usually on day one shorts, good price target is the 5-minute 200, and there really wasn't a lot of room there. So, seeing that, I didn't take the trade, but seeing this would have been a little bit cause for concern, just in terms of how much range could it give us. But it does make it all the way down to these pivots here. If we draw these out, these are pretty clear to see. And that makes a clear bottom for it here. So kind of zone to zone type action, and did not really respect the 5-minute 200 EMA there, but good play on the short side. I know I don't really talk about short plays that much. I've been a long bias trader, I've been a short bias trader. Right now I'm doing a little bit of both, but more on the long side. But I'll try to do a better job of pointing out some good short setups when we see them. Now, we'll shift gears again and talk about a day two play to the long side, NVAX. This is one I had on watch going into the day. So I wasn't, it wasn't on watch in the way that I'm for sure going to trade this. It would have to be a good setup for me to get into it, and we did get one of those here. So if we look at day one, we get this really parabolic pre-market action. And then I did actually try to trade it in here on day one. I think we talked about that, and I got stopped out here on this candle. But really the big takeaway for me was this daily zone here that was really well respected. It was respected while it was in the zone, and then when it dipped below, it was a clean fade, just showing me that it was a pretty key level. But we do get a hold of this gap open, or I'm sorry, this gap close when you're coming in from the top, and this daily pivot here. So the thought was, if it's going to continue to hold these levels, whether it's going to be a day two play or set up an inside bar for a day three play, one to keep on watch, since it didn't give all of its gains back from this really wild pre-market move. So in pre-market, we come up, we test these levels again that were important, this daily zone, come back down to the daily pivots, and then when we open, we're back up in this daily zone. So the thought is, for me, if we can get above this daily zone, um, we do have that previous day high here, but above the zone, I was definitely interested in it. It was pretty much the play that I was trying to take on day one. Obviously, things are a little different on day two, but same areas of interest. And what we got within the zone, we do get it open and kind of a rejection of these pivots, but we get good consolidation, a little bit of inverse head and shoulders look right on top of VWAP. nice wick below and absorption on VWAP. And then once we start this move up, it is super clean. ADMA guide all the way. Um, has a little hesitation here at the previous high day, but able to bust through it strongly. Daily pivot as a stopgap here on this flush, absorbed for that next leg up. We ended up making right to some predictable levels. Where do we get this from? Let's see. We draw this over. This is the pre-market high from that initial day. And that pre-market high also lines up on the daily chart with the start of this gap. So a couple areas of confluence there. Excuse me, most importantly, that pre-market level from the day prior. So really nice day two move. You know, again, not A++, but one that you definitely could bank on with controlled risk. And once you're in the trade, you know, um, you're making money no matter what on this thing, unless you know, chased it and tried to buy up here and get a little bit dumped on. But like I said, EMAs as a guide never closes below the 21 and usually is riding the 8 for this whole move. So really clean, nice, clean, predictable levels that you can play off of. So a nice day two move for us there. Um, and I think with that said, let's just talk about the obvious. Let's talk GameStop. All right, so the man himself, Roaring Kitty, put out a tweet. I think it was yesterday. It was the meme of the guy like sitting up in the chair playing a video game, mentioning, kind of alluding to getting focused, locking in. And so that man still has some pull when it comes to these names, apparently. So, I mean, even before that, though, all last week, it was a little bit of a different feel in this name. I'm not one to really trade these. I did trade it today because the setup was just too nice. But, when all this was happening last week, I'm only kind of half paying attention to it, realizing that it does have elevated volume, kind of similar to this move here, but it had kind of this flat top look and was able to bust through it last Thursday, dip off of it on Friday. So really clean setup on the daily chart. And then these are just levels that I've had drawn out, whenever GameStop comes back up, every once in a while it gets these pops, people get interested. So I had levels already drawn out and updated on it. And so when we get this crazy, just you don't always see when it opens, you know, it's not even a candle. It just opens up up here, above $20, bases off it, comes up to these next pivots. And this is where I kind of got interested when, all this was happening, not so much, but when it broke above this key pre-market level, I said, okay, I will trade this stock if it dips back to this pre-market level, makes that low in the first 5 minutes, stays above VWAP and starts making a move up. So it's exactly what happened. Didn't even have it on my main screen, and I had it on a thumbnail chart, and I saw these two bottom wicks into the dailies or pre-market zone off of the daily pivot, and I got in around 25.50, I think was the average. So, pretty much at the start of this candle, and then immediately got a halt up. So I was, the halt bands were pretty tight on this because it gapped up, like 50% or something like that. So it had halt bands, updated for the price down here in the 20s. So now that we're up here, 25, they're a little bit tighter. So this is a name that was pretty easy to hold because you only had to hold it for about 30 seconds at a time before you went into another halt. So we had one halt, two halt, three halt, four halt, five halt, and this is all in the first 30 minutes of the day. I took all of my shares off above this 34.91 level, some before this next halt, this last one rather, and then my last shares as it was on this lower halt band, I just wanted to go ahead and get out and just take the profits that I had. It was a better move than I thought. It was $10 a share, which I was not really anticipating, but obviously was really happy to get. So I mean, I think the important thing to note here is the difference in behavior from the resumptions to what we got on this one. These were all resumed flat and made a move directly up. Resumed flat, made a move directly up. Now on this candle, it was a little trickier because it went down and it actually touched the lower halt band, but it was behaving like a small cap playing those halt band games. So touched the lower halt band, had a couple shares traded on it, and then really quickly up to the upper halt band. So really crazy move. Once I saw that, I was like, laughing to myself, talking to a couple buddies, talking about how it's trading like a small cap again. So I'm sure people seeing that action in lifetime, that's the kind of move that gets the imagination going, saying, okay, what is this thing capable of today? So after that, I felt comfortable that we were probably going to get up to this upper halt band at least. And yeah, we got it. So sick trade there. And I don't think we can talk GameStop without talking AMC. Now, this is a name that I did not participate in today. It was interesting to see, kind of the lack of correlation in between the two charts. Whereas this really started making its move up at 1010, that's the lows, and then it started grinding up. GameStop, excuse me, at 1010 was making its highs. So they kind of had an inverse looking chart in terms of high day, low day type situation. So that was interesting to see. I didn't really stick around to watch this play out throughout the day, but just off the levels that we had charted, they played relatively cleanly with this daily zone, holding it at open. Tricky move here. Like I said, I mean, where you're seeing GameStop topping out at 1010, you see this making new lows. I think it would be a pretty normal thought to think, okay, this is gonna fade if GameStop's got the top end. This is gonna be more of a sell kind of day, a trend down kind of day. But reverses trend, gets on top of VWAP and then rides the EMAs all the way up. It's making highs here even late in the day, bouncing off this daily zone right here. So meme stocks are back. It'll be interesting to see how these play out the rest of the week. If other names start to get involved, I know, let's see, KOSS was a name that was going to in the morning. Yeah, so this kind of just followed GameStop with that, 10:10-ish top out time. So yeah, if you still got that watch list for your meme names, I know I got it in here somewhere. Um, Probably one of the first watch lists that I had. I don't know, I have so many of them now. But yeah, get out the meme stock list, keep them on watch. This could be just one day type of action, or we could get a sustained move. I know that I'm not giving you any any clear answers here, but that's not the point of this. It's to kind of learn as we go, have an open mind, and trade things as they come. So for a Monday, I know I kind of jinxed this last Monday by saying the market was hot. I'm not going to use those words again, but I will definitely be at the desk nice and early tomorrow to see what the rest of the week brings. So if you have any questions, any tickers you want to go over, any themes, anything that you want to see from this channel, I'm totally happy to really make whatever you guys are looking for. So once again, thank you to the new subscribers. If you like this content and this is one of your first videos, feel free to subscribe. I will be making these videos daily, just talking about the moves that happen in our little corner of the stock market. So thanks again for tuning in. Hope you guys had a good trading day, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Thanks.